Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite white colonizer tall, the traveling clack, coming to you live from the United States of America. Let's take a look at this clip, I believe from CBN News.
If Hamas continues its refusal and does not release the hostages soon, the IDF will engage in intense fighting throughout Gaza until the hostages are released and Hamas is defeated. At the same time, we are working to advance the voluntary emigration plan for Gaza residents in accordance with the U.S. president's vision.
In other news, a prominent group of Muslim scholars has issued a fatwa, or an Islamic decree, calling for jihad against Israel and urging Muslim nations to intervene in what they call a genocide against Palestinians. Egypt's Grand Mufti quickly rejected the ruling, calling it irresponsible and warning only states have the authority to declare jihad. The sharp disagreement reveals growing divisions in the Muslim world over how to respond to the war in Gaza, which reportedly has claimed tens of thousands of lives. Well, Raj Nair joins us now. He's CBN's senior digital media host. Welcome, Raj.
Raj, you've been tracking this story closely. We know. What stood out to you, Raj, most about the timing and the language in this fatwa?
So the fatwa, kind of a religious edict from the International Union of Muslim Scholars. It's egregious, it's horrific, but what really stood out to me is there's just no shame. It is, there's no hiding it. You would think something as egregious as this, there'd be a little like secret game plan, but if you go on their website, it's right there in plain English. Let me read you just a couple of lines because I think it's important. We reiterate that it is obligatory for all Muslims and Muslim nations to engage in jihad against the Zionist entity. Financial jihad is an obligation upon every capable Muslim. And here's one more. The committee reaffirms the prohibitions of all forms of normalization with the occupying Zionist entity. This is not a hidden thing. This is their game plan. They put it in English for everyone to see.
So in the story that we just mentioned, Egypt is trying to delineate between a nation or a state declaring a jihad or fatwa versus Muslim scholars. Is there any delineation in that? And what would it take for government or court to actually enforce that?
So I'm not an expert on Muslim law, but this is something coming that people have been telling me. This is a Muslim Brotherhood orchestrated event. Now, there are different organizations and countries that have straight up banned the Muslim Brotherhood. So who listens to this? Who does this apply to? I've talked to many people in the Middle East that have different opinions, but basically, who is the Muslim Brotherhood? Who does it control? Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Who does this actually impact? Will certain nations listen to it? It's up for debate because I've even talked to someone who said just because this was ruled by someone in Qatar doesn't mean that this guy was the guy who said it. If you're saying it in Qatar, then someone kind of told him to say it, allowed it to be said. So there's a lot of posturing, and exactly what this means is a subject for debate inside the Middle East.
Yeah. So Egypt, top religious authority pushed back, Raj. Why do you think that is? And what does it tell us about the split within the Muslim world over Gaza?
Well, that's what's been really interesting is if you actually talk to people on the ground in places like Egypt, in places like Jordan, even places like Gaza, people are pushing back against this radical jihadist ideology. We've seen, it's very public, obviously, at this point, that there's people in Gaza, protesting against the rule of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. So the ground isn't necessarily all in favor of this. And obviously, countries like Egypt are more pragmatic. They're, trying to run a country as opposed to some of these, genocidal regimes like we have in Iran, Hezbollah in Lebanon. So I think you have like this, as you were saying, like this split, like, listen, we tried it your way. Look what happened in Gaza. Tens of thousands of people are dead, as you just mentioned. And what did it get us? What has this benefited us? So you're actually starting to see, I think, a lot of fissures of, what does it mean to resist the Zionist entity and why are we even doing this in the first place? So again, when you talk to people on the ground, you will, which I almost would consider encouraging, you're starting to see a fracture of what it means to resist the Zionist entity. And this fatwa doesn't really ring true to a lot of people anymore.
Raj, real quickly, are you also seeing that from officials on social media?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to, I was talking to a friend of mine who grew up in the Middle East, and he basically said, listen, There are certain things that you just do because you're told. And so if you were, for example, releasing this fatwa in the UK or the United States, it'd be your opinion, your thoughts. There's a lot of people with strings being attached to who can say what and when you can say it. So what governments might say a certain thing, like MBS in Saudi Arabia, but do a different thing. And so I think it's a lot of jockeying and posturing. What does it actually mean at the end of the day? That's up for debate inside the Middle East.
All right, CBN senior digital media host Raj Nair. Raj, thank you. Great to see you.
We appreciate you, Raj. I believe I actually have an interview with Raj coming up. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but I believe that's the first time I've ever seen him. Very nice dude. Here's the deal, okay? This narrative that's been sold to us that the Muslim world is this all-powerful, all-united Arab front of the Muslim Ummah of 2 billion people is absolute horseshit. Everybody needs to understand this right now watching this video. They are the most divided, most fickle group of people on the planet at the moment. They hate themselves from the inside. They hate themselves. They despise themselves. That is why when you bring it up, when people tell you about the genocide in Gaza and you bring up, hey, you guys are literally slaughtering each other in the millions, they don't have an answer for it. They just capitulate the point and jump to something else. They posture because they can't handle it. The truth is, the Muslims hate each other. They hate themselves. They kill each other in the millions. They are their own worst enemy. Everywhere around the Muslim world, all you see is Muslims slaughtering other Muslims. That is the status quo. And so when you see a fatwa issued against the state of Israel, which is nothing new, yes? I mean, you could even make a claim that fatwa was issued in the Quran originally, and it's to stop the Jewish people from ever being able to have autonomy above a Muslim. But when you see this fatwa, it's not like it's some groundbreaking news. It's just a continuation of the status quo. The status quo is to murder Israelis wherever you see them. The status quo is to murder Jewish people whenever you can. It's not like this isn't like groundbreaking news or something new that we need to be shocked by. It's literally the status quo. So, and again, he's right. Raj is right with his reporting. You see a huge divide in the Muslim world now, because I'm not going to say 50% of them, but there's a growing population of people there who realize this has been for no reason. This whole fight against Israel, this front against Israel, this aggression against Israel has not given these people anything. They have lost so much from it, and they'll continue to lose because they can't win this fight. When you're using intelligence and logic and ethics against an army of 400 million people that are being driven by a book and some corrupt leaders who are telling them you need to kill the Jews and hate the Jews, a lot of them are going to wake up and be like, what did the Jews ever do to me? We kicked them all out of their countries. How are they affecting my life? And it's just conspiracy. It's like Islamic Jihad of Iran or Islamic regime of Iran propaganda that tries to sell this narrative that the Jews are the reason why the Middle East looks the way that it does, while they've already kicked out all the Jews from the Middle East besides this one place. Most Muslims in the Middle East, most Arabs don't even know a Jew. They don't know any Jews. They've kicked them all out of their countries, including my family. So you do have this growing population that's kind of like, what the hell are we doing? What is the point of all of this? And we keep losing and we keep dying and we keep losing millions and millions and millions of dollars every year fighting this fight against Israel. We cannot win. We don't have the willpower to win. So, this is why I say, if you want to break up the Arab supremacist agenda, if you want to break up the Islamic supremacist agenda, this Muslim colonization that we're seeing, this oppression of everyone who's non-Muslim in the Middle East, the only thing you need to do is attack aggressively, go on the offensive against the Muslim Arab colonization. Explain to them and show them how much they hate each other, and keep bringing it up. Don't take your finger off the gas pedal. Keep bringing it up over and over and over and over and over again. I might sound like I'm beating a dead horse in every video, but I'll continue to do it because I know it's changing. It's changing people's minds. People are waking up to it. Keep beating the dead horse. Muslims are their own worst enemy. The Jews are not the issue. The Yazidis are not the issue. The Mandeans are not the issue. The Assyrians are not the issue. It is the Muslims. They are their own worst enemy. And until they wake up to the fact they are their own worst enemy, nothing will change. And that's all I have to say. But if you do want to support the channel and make a change, get your white colonizer hat in the description down below, travelingclad.com. And I'll see you in the next one. I love you guys a long time. Goodbye, Clads. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.